So I want to talk about something I've been sitting with for a little bit now. I am a studier and an observer of systems. Specifically, I study how the systems train us, Black people in particular, how to oppress ourselves throughout history and beginning in our childhood. And what I found over the years doing my research and observing and actually living this life and living this work personally is that the most sophisticated level and the form of oppression is not what's done to you, but it's what happens when you eventually begin to oppress yourself. You may call it laziness. You call it a lack of discipline. We label it things like, I just can't stay consistent, or that's just not for me. Well, what if it's none of that? What if you've been systemically conditioned to abandon yourself, and that conditioning is so thorough, so deeply embedded, that it's evident in how you move through life, how you show up in the world. And we, Black women, have internalized and mistaken this programming for parts of our personality. Well, that's what this series is all about. The unlearning starts today. So here's what I know for sure, and this is my truth, and yours if you choose to accept it. We were taught by patriarchal systems, our families, our friends, institutions, that your worth is equal to your productivity, that your body is problematic, that your voice, your personality is too much, that your needs are optional. And we have absorbed these lessons so completely that now when you try to build something different, a more healthier lifestyle, a healthier body, a clearer mind, less work, less stress, life that's actually more fulfilling, you're still under these conditioned systems. You're running on old programming. And that's why we start and we stop. That's why we overthink. That's why we disappear when things get good, or shrink when things don't go our way our first couple of attempts. It's not really a motivational problem. It's not a capability problem. You're more than capable. This is a systemic problem. And the reason that the distinction matters is this: you can't fix a systemic problem with just discipline and trying harder. That's not really the solution. We've been trying to discipline and outwork our way through oppression since the beginning of time. And the truth is that unlearning these systems, it requires a dismantling. You ready? Now let's talk about what this actually looks like in real life, in your life. Because self-sabotage does not always look like falling apart. In fact, in most high-achieving professional women, it usually looks very productive. She loves to look like she's holding it together. So there are 5 patterns that I've consistently seen through my observations. I want you to take notice if any of these characteristics sound familiar. Maybe you know this sister. Maybe you are this sister. Maybe there's a combination. I want you to take note of what may live inside of you. So first, we have the perfectionist. The perfectionist. Oh, you start strong, but the closer you get to success, the more you find the flaw. And then you quit before anyone else can reject you. So you never really fail. You've just protected yourself from failure. And that's not a weakness. That's a trauma response dressed up as high standards. We have the procrastinator. The procrastinator. You delay and delay until the deadline removes the pressure of actually achieving it. So if it doesn't work, it's all about the timing, not the capacity. You never have to know what you're actually capable of because you never actually tried under fair conditions. We have the imposter. Oh, the imposter. The imposter downplays the accomplishments. You convince people that you're less than so that they won't expect anything more from you. Because expectations mean potential for failure, and failure means rejection. So you pre-reject yourself. First one to do it, right? Then we have the validator or the seeker. I also like to call her the people pleaser. Oh, you do everything right. Everything. But you need the constant external approval to believe it. And when you don't get it, You self-destruct to prove that you were right to doubt yourself all along. We have the martyr. The martyr. You help everybody but yourself. And that sacrifice, that perpetual giving, means that you never have to show up fully for yourself, for your own dreams. Because martyrdom is the ultimate excuse. Nobody can judge what you've never claimed. So the gag is that most women aren't just one particular archetype. We rotate. We're a complex combination of all of them, actually, depending on the season, depending on life's current circumstances, depending on who's watching. But here's what all 5 of these archetypes have in common. They were installed. They're a part of the programming. They are a part of the systems that need you manageable, need you palpable. The environments that reward your smallness, reward you for shrinking, that benefits when you stand in your own way. Dismantling the institution so that you can get to the root, the truth of who you are. And that's the work. That's the real work. So I built a framework, not from inspiration, but out of necessity, right? I tested it on myself first because I can only prescribe what I've practiced in real life. So the framework is called Get Out of Your Own Way. And before you dismiss it as something like motivational woo-woo or just poster language, I understand that. But let me be clear that this is different. This is a framework and it's built on 5 pillars. Let's cover the 5 pillars. The first is love and emotion. Your body is not a problem to be managed. It's a temple to be honored. And movement is worship. It's not punishment. That's the mindset reframe that we need that's going to change everything about the way that we decide to show up in the world, how we decide to show up in our own bodies. The second pillar is love that's anchored in faith. So most transformational programs are built on willpower or personal motivation. And that's ultimately why they fail, because we're not strong enough to master true transformation. Well, I don't believe that we are. So this framework is rooted in the divine truth that your worth comes from who you are and whose you are, not on what you're able or capable of producing. So when you move from I need to fix myself or I am not enough to I am already enough, I am already beloved, the foundation shifts. The third pillar is radiant self-love. Self-sabotage lives in the gap of what you believe that you deserve and then what it is that you actually claim. So this pillar is all about closing the gap, not with affirmations, not with woo-woo crystals, and not doing it all by yourself, but with accuracy and with intention. You have to see yourself first the way that God sees you. And once that happens, it's a domino effect that shifts everything. The fourth pillar is sacred community connection. We don't thrive alone, and shame cannot survive in silence. You can't transform alone. You can't heal alone because you can't help anybody else. And that's ultimately a part of the circle of the healing journey. So this pillar is about intentional accountability that isn't judgment, but it's really about the kind that welcomes authenticity and calls you out for a better purpose. We call you out in love. We push you higher and envelope you in love as well. That's the beauty of being a part of an intentional community. The fifth pillar is intentional living. And most women, we know what we should do. We just don't do it because we don't have the proper systems to unlearn and then to try again with tactical, actionable practices. And this is the pillar that builds the structure and makes that transformation automatic, not dependent on willpower. 5 pillars, 1 framework. And this is built for the woman who is done performing, ready to unlearn and dismantle the systemic BS and get to the root of the issue. You're ready to make a move. You're ready to get out of your own way. So, story time. I developed this framework because I needed it myself. I wrote my master's thesis all about white hegemonic capitalism and ways that it extracts labor and identity from Black women. But I still found myself all 20 years later, in the system, occupying systemic beliefs and centering patriarchy in ways that frustrated even myself, because this was not the dream or the vision that I had for my life. So I understood that I had to reset, and that reset couldn't come from my own willpower. I realized that I was identifying with all of the examples and the archetypes of character performances of Black women. And just because you know the theory, that's just half the battle, right? You have to have a framework that is going to provide you the tools to make a tactical change in your life once you so decide. It's not enough to just know the foundational frameworks, but you have to live the practice. So again, before I offered this up to the community, I test on myself. This is my second cycle going through the Get Out of Your Own Way challenge to reset the mind. And I'm looking forward to sharing the results and aspects of the program with you, because that's what it's all about. Sharing the daily discipline in the midst of living in a world that is on fire and dealing with mindset struggles that would have me revert back to systemic practices. I know that I have the tools to better pivot and focus on my wellness. That's what it's all about, divine self-love. So what ultimately happens is the relationship with yourself is going to change and shift. And I know this because the relationship with myself is shifting as I continue to practice these frameworks. So how do you get started? What does that even mean to get out of your own way? Now that you know all of this goodness, what do you do with it? If you've been nodding along as I'm talking and you're ready to actually take some action, don't worry, I've got the next steps. I've created a free self-audit to get started, just assess to see if you're ready to even get out of your own way. I want you to take time and journal through on your own and answer these questions as honestly as possible. No performance, get real. That's the first step. It's a quick assessment. The link is below. And if the audit confirms what you already think you know, which is that you may be self-sabotaging and it's time to get out of your own way, then you're ready to go a little bit deeper. And I also have a playbook that goes deeper into the frameworks, opening up the mind to the full Get Out of Your Own Way program. Because honey, it's a full 75 reset and you deserve, right? Both links are in the description below, as well as details once you sign up about when we're going to open up the next Get Out of Your Own Way group to keep intentional community that I mentioned. I invite you to join us because you don't have to do it alone. I'll see you in the next video. Make sure that you're subscribed. Make sure you're on the email list so you don't miss a single thing. I can't wait to share my journey and to experience your journey as we do the work together. It's time that we get out of our own way. You deserve it. Your community deserves it. I love you and take care until the next time. Bye.